This is Wolong Fallen Dynasty. We're here on Xbox Series S. Be sure to like the video. Subscribing is great as well. So this is yet another one of the Dark Souls slash more, I guess you would say, Nioh-esque experiences where you are going to die and feel the blade and the death of 1,000 slashes over and over and over again. And if you're into that kind of thing, well, you know, this is going to be good for you. So you're probably wondering what exactly we're getting here with this particular offering. Well, under the settings and graphics, we've got HDR, we've also got two modes. We've got prioritize FPS, we've got prioritize resolution. So we're getting 1440p as a max target at 60 FPS. Though there will be some variation available when you are playing. So when it's prioritizing the FPS, it will definitely be more of a resolution, dynamic resolution scaling, whereas the quality mode will try to basically keep, well, we'll just basically be pushing for that full amount. So for the Series S, I do definitely kind of recommend going for the frame rate mode. Like if you do have a VRR enabled display, that's variable refresh rate, I think it's going to be a little bit better to do the, the quality mode. I think you can kind of get away with it a little bit more. But I do think, for the most part, you're probably wanting to prioritize the FPS. At least that's how I feel for this particular title. So it's a game you can play alone, or you can play with others. There's a whole sort of random join system, which is a little buggy. The multiplayer, like, honestly, there's a lot of, like, rubber banding. If you want to do co-op, you have to, like, restart levels and do it in co-op, which is a bit weird, but you can have people, like, join your, like, world, if that makes sense, and then they're able to, kind of come in and help you. So there's a couple different elements for the online multiplayer is what I'm trying to get at. So it's a little buggy, and it's like kind of a bit weird because it's so important for me. That is like the best way, or well, the only way to really play this sort of game is to do, the cooperative side of thing is to have people join in and aid your battle. So yeah, that's kind of wild because this game is really, I don't know, brutally difficult is the right term, but it's really like the enemies and the bosses can have like really cheap random hits and attacks, and it's really a pain, and it's very repetitive in its design. Like you're walking through an area fighting a boss, and then you call in people to help you, you kill the boss. Like you can spend 2 hours sitting there trying to fight a boss by yourself, or you can just call in someone to help you and it'll take like a minute. It's really wildly randomly balanced in that regard. I really don't quite comprehend that much of a difference, where co-op is basically like the way to kind of play this. It's just like, to me, that seems like a really weird balancing design that doesn't make a whole lot of sense. But that's how it goes. And it's less about your leveling too. Like, sure, leveling might help a little bit, but this game has more of a kind of like a morale sort of system where you are, kind of building up your strength on the level, how much of a physical presence you have here. You collect, like, the flags by, like, posting these, like, flag posts in. You, kind of kill certain things. You build up your rank level, and that allows you to more easily fight stuff. You can also call in AI to come and help you fight. Most levels you have an AI companion, but they're pretty useless. Like, occasionally they'll help out, but like if you're doing bosses, they're not gonna really do a whole lot aside from distract for a little bit. So not the best of helpers, but they're there, and that's kind of neat. So yeah, it's an interesting game. Like I said, though, if you're into the whole Souls thing, if you're into that, cool. If you're thinking this game is gonna be really accessible, that's just not accurate. It's quite brutally difficult, and it's certainly something that's unforgiving, and it's not easy going. It's gonna be hard if you're struggling in the opening area. The first boss took me like 5 hours or something like that. It's just like it doesn't get any easier, and it's painful, it's challenging, it's exhausting to play. But you know what? If you're into this kind of thing, cool, go for it, go nuts. It'll be good for you, right? The loading can be a little long too, which is a bit odd. Considering when you die a bunch, you know, you gotta respawn and stuff. And then it takes a long time to load into multiplayer matches as well. I wish the multiplayer was a lot better streamlined. Because it's also like, as soon as somebody finishes an area, they like disappear. And, you know, it'd be nice if they kind of kept with you, if that makes sense. You know, that would be very, very helpful for actually being able to do the different missions. And anyways, there's a lot of like really stressful parts of this game. Now, at least thankfully I can say for the Series S, looks pretty good. Runs pretty well, especially if you prioritize the frame rate here. I actually do think the game actually looks really nice on the Series S this time around. Now, you know, obviously, like, this game, to me, when I first played it kind of demo-wise, it was kind of like 360 era visually. Sort of the, you know, aesthetic, but I think since then they've actually done a good job of kind of pumping up the visuals a bit more. Like, obviously, comparing Series X to Series S, it looks a lot, like, blurrier, obviously. But this is actually kind of a situation where I think it's not too bad looking. You know, I'm obviously used to something a lot more clear, like, just really putting that across, but, like, you know, typically you see much bigger gaps, if that makes sense, in regards to visual, like, fidelity and stuff. But yeah, Series S not doing too bad this time through. Because obviously when we're looking at this from a, you know, Series S perspective, I'm trying to I'm trying to, like, you know, talk about how it's running on this platform and give you some comparison thoughts on it. So, you know, that's the whole Wo-Long situation here. And the whole scale of it is here and well done. It is a little bit, like, kind of jaggedy, though, in the further distance on objects and stuff. And just, it's murkier. That's, you know, it's just going to be what happens when you drop the resolution down. But, you know, frame rate feels pretty good. Obviously, quality mode there, I think you were seeing that it was chugging a bit more, but you know, if you go for prioritizing the frame rate, I think you're going to be pretty good even without a VRR-enabled screen. And then, yeah, it does actually jump up a little bit. Probably goes down to, like... Because, again, the idea of quality mode is it's sort of sticking to that 1440p. Whereas, when you're going for the frame rate, it's dropping, so it could probably drop down to, like, 1080 or something like that. Because this does actually look significantly clearer. That's for sure. So anyways, yeah, gameplay-wise, this is, you know, sort of narrative-focused. You create your own character, and you meet all of these characters. They basically Dark Souls-ified the Dynasty Warriors franchise. So if you're familiar with the Dynasty Warrior characters, there's a lot of them that are like represented and available within this game. There's tons of differing bosses, tons of differing environments. Like, that's something I'll really give to this one, is like every stage is completely unique, you know, from like cityscapes on fire to like you know, kind of these like bamboo areas and, you know, these desolate sort of deserty areas. There's a wide range of locations that you come across and you visit in this game. So that aspect of it is quite cool, you know, it's always something a little different. And you're kind of building up skills, and there's like magic abilities, and there's tons of different weapons, and you can like visit a blacksmith in order to like, you know, kind of go in and improve your stuff a little bit if you have the right items. And there's a weight system. Like, a lot of this game is blocking and then parrying and, you know, doing the parry, but they've made B like your roll and your parry button, which is annoying, but I get it so that you don't spam stuff. you know, that's just something to keep in mind, is that is, you know, the setup here. And if your weight, like what I'm trying to get to basically, is if your armor weight is over 100%, you can't do that kind of stuff. So it's good to make sure that you actually have the proper weighting, otherwise you are going to be in for a very, very rough time. So that was just something I wanted to kind of get across, is that, you know, there is that element of you have to balance the weighting and the setup and everything in order to handle stuff. So they've created like an interesting world. They've created interesting setups. The narrative doesn't make any sense until you get to like Act 3, sort of, or at the end, I guess, of Act 2, because that's when they kind of explain the whole... because the game's all about like the chi, and like demonic chi and good chi. And you're figuring out why there's all this like demonic chi going on, and it really is like, until that point it's just like random nonsense of characters being like, I'm a great person and blah 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 because of what I do. And so yeah, that's kind of a big part of it, is understanding what the story is, and you don't really get that until you get to that point. So man, that frame rate really tanks in resolution mode, I gotta say. Yeah, so just, you know, keep that aspect in mind. But it's an interesting title, you know. Like I said, it's something where, you know, if you're into that whole Dark Souls crowd kind of thing, Nioh, again, more like, I think you'll have, I don't know, fun's the word, but I think you know what you're getting into. Just, you know, don't expect this to be super accessible. If someone's told you that, they're just not being truthful about how this game is. Design-wise, it's just demoralizing. And it's like, you know, as I said, basically for me the whole structuring was work through a level, run through it, capture the flags, wait for people to join, do a boss battle, go to the next area and repeat, rinse and repeat over and over again. And to me that isn't like particularly thrilling, which is a bit of a shame, because it has such a sort of like rich kind of environment and lore and setup that's potential here. Again, lore-wise, I don't know, because the story and stuff is just like really nonsensical until you actually, you know, get to a point where you're getting the story like fed to you and you're starting to understand what's going on. And I don't know, there's better ways that a lot of the stuff could be conveyed in this, and it's just like, man, some of these enemies are just so obnoxious and just like follow and like harass you with this. Gets exhausting. You know what I mean? Like, I'm out here just battling just regular dudes, and it's just, oh, and they follow you around the map too a lot too, which is funny. But Wo Long, yeah, I know, what a troublesome, tiring game this is, honestly. Like, and the level complexity is just so non-existent until you've played so many of the areas and stuff. It really is just a weird time. But I know that there's a certain type of person, you know, that really likes this sort of thing. But if you are, you know, under the impression that this is going to be some kind of easygoing thing, it's just not going to be the case for this type of game. It won't be for everyone, this title. It definitely won't. There's no, like, really easygoing way to do it. It's not like, hey, you know, you go level and stuff and you can go in and beat something you couldn't beat or something like that. It's still, you know, it's a lot of death and a lot of repetition and dying and repetition in gameplay design. Which, again, is a shame. I wish it was a little maybe easygoing, because it would be cool to, you know, actually see everything and work through everything and not, you know, be so insanely, like, stressed out and tired and just being like, ugh, death and crushing defeat and moral defeat. And, you know, because you die, you lose half your XP stuff, and, you know, it's not like the levels really matter all that much, but You know, it is a part of it. And you gather so much, like, useless loot in this game, too. Unbelievable quantities of useless loot. So I hate when that doesn't work, or it doesn't give you the lineup perfectly to stab them in the back. Drives me crazy. But, you know, when you are getting those blocks going, you're getting that parry going, you know, it looks flashy. It looks cool. It looks interesting. You know, the aesthetic, it's gonna be like either something you're really into or something you're kind of like, you know, sort of like in between on, but I think they've put together like a pretty decently nice looking sort of game. You know, there's obviously pop-in as you saw, but that's on all platforms. I think, because like some areas will just like literally appear in front of you when you go to them, which is kind of funny. Man, I hate these invasions. Invade you can turn off for online people if you want to. That is an option in the game. Losing all my XP, haha. Yeah, that fire looks hilariously bad on the Series S. Sorry, it's very low resolution fire on this. So, yeah, I'm a mix on this one. You know, well, not really. I didn't really enjoy playing this. It's such a pain for like no reason, and the gameplay design I think is just not the best because it's like, you know, repetitive and not really fulfilling for me. I try to see the perspective though of someone that is like really into this kind of thing, and if you are, you know, this is another one of those games, just another one of them, but it's got that Dynasty Warriors kind of flair to it. And yeah, the character editor is really good in this game. Yeah, it actually is pretty well done. Shockingly so. Military elite is dead. Good for me. Good for me indeed. But yeah, lots of different areas to visit. If you're able to get people that join you consistently, you could work through the game really fast. If not, you know, you're going to spend a lot of time playing this, dying over and over again, and hoping things get a little bit better. But yeah, it's really easy. I thought you could climb, maybe I think it might be over here. You know, it's very easy for this game to kind of hit a wall, and you just not to be able to progress, and then, you know, you can't really go from there. So just keep that in mind, that this does definitely have, I would say, stalling points where you will very likely feel as though you can't progress, depending on your skill level, depending on the people that come and join your battle, and join you to help you and stuff like that. You know, it's gonna vary what happens. So you either find this rewarding in this design, or you don't. I do wish that it was a little better for different like, disciplines of like weapon types. Like, I mean, wow, he just insta-killed me. I mean, you can get different things, like different types of blades and stuff, and you can change your design and whatnot, but I find, like, if you can't get your hits going in that, it's not like, you know, because, you know, it's not like other things with, like, a whole stamina focus and whatnot. It's more like, you know, you gotta get your hits in quick, you gotta do your damage. It's fast, it's brutal, it's very swift in how you are able to perish over and over again. But if you can pull off those cool moves, you know, you can really feel slick, I guess, is the biggest thing. Ugh. And I land on the fire, and then there's these guys over here. You see? It's exhausting. That's definitely a big word I would use for this game, is legitimately quite exhausting. And we haven't even really seen too many of the, you know, cheap type moves, because I haven't really engaged in too many boss battles, but I've just been kind of trying to give you a feel for it, give you an idea of it, talk about it, give you a fair warning that, you know, this isn't easy going. It could be like literally a straight up nightmare, and for me a lot of it was just really frustratingly boring and tiring. Boring in the sense that you just repeat, and you don't feel like you really get ahead. Which is not great for this type of game, because you should feel like you are, you know, getting ahead. Man, that frame rate really drops in quality mode. Like a lot. That's crazy.